Okay, so I'll go over what the class is going to be about today. Today we're going to be, I'm going to get into a new method called see, hear, feel, which is a form of Vipassana. It's derived from actually ancient Buddhism, um, and particularly developed in Burma. And it's a very well tested, um, yeah, it's a good meditation technique. People have been doing it for a long time. I did it. This form of meditation was my principal meditation for about 2 years. I did a lot of retreats doing this practice. And what this practice does is really opens up awareness and has you learn to be mindful. Really. Okay, great. So that's the main thrust of what we're going to talk about today. And also, before we launch into this, I'll say that this practice can be it's not as pleasant sometimes as metta meditation. And then the homework for this coming week is to do 15 minutes of metta and then 15 minutes of the see, hear, feel method. So I want to make sure that we're all going to kind of maintain our establishment in the practice of loving kindness meditation. But okay, so now we'll start getting into this other practice. Okay. So this particular version of Vipassana meditation was kind of retooled by Shinzen Young, who's an American meditation teacher, in a way that's kind of very modular and kind of easy to think about and use and also manipulate and change, etc. So here we go. So, okay, see, hear, feel. So now why would we want to even develop this practice? What are the benefits? Well, in this practice, like with all meditation practices, we're going to develop concentration, sensory clarity, and equanimity. What does that mean? Concentration means to be able to hold your attention on what you deem important for however long you deem important. Sensory clarity is meaning you actually understand your sensory experience. Like, okay, this is a mental thought. I'm sorry, this is like a mental image. This is a mental piece of talk. This is an auditory thought. This is a visual thought. And really being able to tell the difference. Oh, this is body activation. This is tension across my shoulder. And then this is an emotion. Aha, this is the difference. And like kind of being able to follow it and in a sense break it down and see it arising and passing in real time. And we'll get more into this later, but to be able to see things as they are can bring about an awakening experience. Where you see that things are not as kind of coherent and I don't know, like impenetrable and concrete, but rather things just arise and pass, and that this fixity of a self in yourself or in others is actually a little bit of an illusion, and that starts to fall apart when you do practices like these. Okay, now let me also mention equanimity. So we're building these three skill sets: concentration, sensory clarity, equanimity. What does equanimity mean? Equanimity means basically the skill of being at peace with what's arising, the ability to be with what is good and not get sucked into it and identify it, and also to be with what is difficult and not get sucked into it and identified with it. Okay, great. Now, there are lots of benefits to these. I've already spoken to some of them, but the benefits of developing mindfulness are knowing yourself more deeply, like actually truly understanding your experience. Also, being able to affect behavior change. This is important because the foundation of behavior change is being able to focus on the problematic behavior, being able to understand the behavior, and then also having the tolerance to sit with it and not like look away, right? You want to actually be there with it. And that's the equanimity piece of it. What else? Also, you kind of work through your own crap, so to speak, enough such that being of service to others becomes more possible. And being of service to others, actually, the research says, is one of the greatest sources of personal happiness. And then what else? Also, it helps with fulfillment because when we develop these skills of concentration, sensory clarity, and equanimity, we're actually able to be with what's arising completely. So there's more fulfillment, and also there's less suffering because a lot of what suffering hinges on is resistance. And so when we learn to be with what is, there's less suffering, more fulfillment, more self-knowledge, more ability to affect behavior change, and also a greater capacity for service to others. Okay, great. So now we've not gotten quite into the technique. Now we're going to launch off into this technique. So again, this is a form of vipassana, insight. It's a wisdom practice in contradistinction to metta, which is a heart practice. And I think it's very good to have both a wisdom and a heart practice going. And generally speaking, about 50-50, each one is a very good combination. Okay, moving on. What is see, hear, feel? So see, hear, feel is a form of noting called noting. And what you do is you label your experience, see, hear, and feel. And the thought is that basically the entirety of your sensory experience can be broken down into those three. Now, of course, there's also, in terms of the senses, there's seeing, hearing, and feeling, and smelling and tasting. But then tasting and smelling are pretty minor, right? They're not that big a deal. And it's fine if you want to note smell, taste, but it's pretty minor. But you can kind of roll most other sensory experiences into these three: see, hear, feel. And so those are the categories of experience, and they're also the labels that we use to help us stay mindful and attuned to our present moment sensory experience. Okay, at this point, I'm going to give you a brief demonstration of what this looks like. So, and to be clear, you can actually do this meditation practice speaking out loud or silently in your mind, but I'm going to do it out loud so that you can all hear. So here we go. Feel, feel, hear, feel, feel, hear, see, feel, feel. Okay, now I'm going to do the same, but I'm going to make explanatory notes explaining what I'm doing, which is, you will not do this when you do your practice. So see, I'm looking at the computer screen. See, I'm looking at the computer screen. Feel, I feel tension in my upper back. Feel, I just swallowed. See, I'm seeing one of the students. And then see, I'm looking at the screen again. See, I'm looking at the keyboard. Feel, I'm feeling myself speak. Hear, I'm hearing myself speak. Feel, I feel my arm resting on the chair. Feel, I feel tension in my back. Okay, that was how you do the practice. Let me make a couple more points here. So you know what? There are a couple more, let's see here, subtleties around this, but I'll launch into those after we've all tried it. Now, I realize that I want to be crystal clear. I've not given you enough instruction, but we're going to try to practice this anyway, okay? So it's going to be messy. And this is fantastic practice for meditation because meditation is always messy. Now, Philippe, you're a long-term meditator. Isn't it always a wreck? It takes a while. It takes a while to figure it out. And so anyway, so this is really good practice in that regard. Okay, everybody, straighten up. Push the crown of your head up towards the ceiling. And then there's this energetic feeling in the body. Okay, good. And now the body and the mind know, aha, yes, we're meditating. Okay, now we're all going to make these three notes together. And that's all you're just going to say one note at a time. Explain, noting and noticing what your experience is at that moment. That's all you do. You're not trying to change it. You're not trying to manipulate it. All right, we're all doing it together. Okay, good. All right. We'll stop there and I'll continue with lecture. And I hope to answer many of the questions that you would otherwise have. However, after about another 3 minutes of lecture, we'll open it up to questions. Okay. So again, this is a labeling technique. Why do we want to have this labeling going? The labeling chews up the verbal processing capacities of the brain, and you want to chew up that processing ability, because that processing ability will otherwise go to thought. And the way I like to talk about meditation is everything and anything other than self-referential narrative thought. You know, I, me, mine, all my problems, blah, blah, blah. So when we say the notes, we're shoving something else into that part of the mind, so it can't think as well. So that's good. The other thing is that the labels are very helpful with the issue of faith and doubt. When people meditate, much of the time, and I'm sure every one of you can relate with this, oh, I'm not doing it right. I don't even know if I am meditating. This doesn't feel right. I don't think this counts. I'm not getting anywhere. Well, so hear me out. If you are saying the labels, you're meditating. Okay, now say that to yourself. If I am saying the labels, I'm meditating. If I'm saying the labels, I'm meditating. Okay, good. Okay. You want to say about one note every 1 to 3 seconds. And you want to kind of use a little bit of an equanimity voice. And the equanimity voice is especially useful when you're stressed and you're trying to calm yourself down. So if you just keep making these notes like see, feel, feel, it calms you down. It's like this it's kind of something slightly self-referential. It's like I was saying earlier, Tom, I talked about how you want to actually say out loud, like, oh, this is good. I would have acted another way. I'm meditating now. I see how I'm handling this more skillful. So you're building up your faith that meditation works. Well, in the same way, when you actually like say the labels out loud, it like forcefully induces a mindfulness and a calm. So that's also another reason why you want to do the labels. Okay, so now let me dig a little deeper. So there's see, which is like external, like you see the screen. But then now close your eyes and then imagine a giraffe. So in this system, this is also labeled see. So you see the giraffe in your mind's eye. It's a mental image. It's a visual thought. That is see. Actually, it's see in, whereas if you open your eyes and look at the computer, that's see out. And now listen to my voice and hear this. That's hear out. Now hallucinate that same sound of my snapping my fingers in your mind and hear it. That's hear in. Hear in. Now, so let's talk about feel. So feel is like you're feeling the body. So like this, I can feel, I would note feel. Or I just notice my buttocks on the chair and I note feel. And that's feel out. And you can note it as feel or feel out. And then in this system, feel in and feel out is, okay, feel out is the body and feel in is emotions. So if you notice, let's say like love or anxiety arising for you, you'd note feel. Or if you want to be more particular, feel in. Okay, good. A couple of other just points to mention. So just because there's an absence of a sensory experience is not a problem. Like for example, put your attention on your left lung. Like I'm not sure if I can feel anything in my left lung, but just that intention of trying to feel and feeling nothing would count. So that's feel. I would note feel. So, okay, that's fine. So things can be kind of restful and almost not there, or very active. Like, you know, if you tense everybody just tense your fist and then feel it and then release. And it's very obvious. Yes, feel. Very, very active. And now put your attention on your opposite hand. And there's very little happening. So that's like more like, you know, on the kind of restful end, and one is on the active end. And both are fine to note, so that's not a problem. Okay. I think we basically got it covered. So, okay, a few more notes about this. So I've talked about what the practice is. I've also talked about the benefits of the practice, and I've talked about how you practice. But there are a few things to watch out for, and also we need to talk about when you want to do the practice. The see, hear, feel form of insight meditation or vipassana meditation is absolutely fantastic for daily life practice. Daily life practice means you're walking around. Like you can't have your eyes closed, focusing on your breath, trying to like feel the breath in your nostrils while you're driving a car. But you can do see, hear, feel when you're driving a car, when you're eating, when you're cutting carrots, when you're walking. And so I strongly, strongly, strongly advise bring this into your life because you can do the practice in daily life. It's strongly advised. Okay, that's about when. And then, like I said, we're going to have you do a minimum of 15 minutes a day and then 15 minutes of your metta. But, you know, the more the better. And also, I'll say this, that the benefits of meditation are not linear. Like they're not, you know, often they're diminishing marginal returns. Like the more you meditate, then the benefits level out. No. And it's also not linear. The benefits of meditation are not linear. They're exponential. The more you meditate, the more efficiently you meditate. And the more efficiently you meditate and profoundly you meditate, the more you change yourself and the more you transform yourself. So you want to do the daily life mindfulness, do the micro hits, etc. Okay. What should you watch out for? Okay. It's totally fine if you seem to be having more than one sensory event happening at one time. Just pick one. Not a problem. Just pick one that works. Let's see here. What else? You don't need to catch them all. Also, some people find this practice difficult and kind of annoying. And so if you find it annoying, just put it to the side, go back to metta, and then come back to it later. Okay, that's basically it. Here in a minute, we'll do another like 2-minute session of see, hear, feel, and then we'll open up to questions again, and then thereafter we're going to do the like a longer guided form of meditation. But we have time for questions now, and I see Tom has sent one in. What if my mind does go off in a thought in the see, hear meditation? Okay, this is a very, very good question. So again, one way to think about meditation is everything other than the self-referential narrative. So thinking about yourself and your problems, basically. So when you're lost in that, that is not meditation, and it's not the see, hear, feel meditation. However, this is very, very interesting because see, hear, feel is extremely robust and versatile. So if you have a thought like, oh, my to-do list, if you see in that moment the to-do list arises as an image thought, and you catch it's like, aha, this is an image thought. And then this is an auditory thought. I need to fill out my to-do list. Or, oh, I lost my to-do list. That's an auditory thought. And then you note hearing, or hear, or see, then you're meditating again. Okay, Tom, did that speak to your question?
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Great, super. All right, any other questions? How can I clarify this? And how did that little 1 minute go for people that we tried? Crickets. Nobody has anything to say. Okay, great, cool. All right, so we're going to do it for another like 2-minute session right now. Then we'll open it up to questions, and then we'll take our 5-minute bathroom break, and then we'll do the longer guided meditation. Okay, great. So let's all straighten up. Push the crown of the head up towards the ceiling, and then we're just going to label our experience with the 3 words: see, hear, or feel. And it helps to smile when you meditate. Okay, good. How'd that go for y'all? Is there anything I can clarify? Are there any questions? And then also reports.
I can share something, Cedric.
Yep.
I noticed that my frequency was varying.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would sometimes I'd hear something in the street, so hear, and instantly I'd feel something on my face.
Yeah.
Feel. So it was like a reactive.
Yeah, that's fine.
It was reactive, and I recently practiced this method with George Haas, where he teaches it. He practices it in what he calls a rhythmic way, meaning that he feels, hears at the end of each breath, at the end of each out breath. So he does it only once per breathing cycle. At the end of the out breath, and then he just at that point he does it. I kind of enjoyed it that way also because it wasn't so reactive. It was like, okay, what do I see, feel, hear now?
Yeah.
I don't know if you have any thoughts about
No, that's good. And I thought about presenting it that way. So I appreciate you bringing that up, Philippe. So yeah, you could do that. So on the inhale, okay, you just notice that you're inhaling. On the exhale, you just make a note, and it's a broad general note as to what's happening. Or you can kind of do it in this reactive way where you just like you're sitting there, you notice an itch here, oh, a sound. The way I always did it was a quick type, the kind of more reactive, flowing with your experience. That's how I did it. But it's perfectly fine to do it in a more like consistent, like you do it every like 3 seconds or whatever, or you do it on the in breath and the out breath, or you do it on just the out breath. So in this longer formal meditation session, I would recommend that you try both ways. And again, that gives me an opportunity to re-emphasize that you have to make meditation your own. Do it to where you like it and you can do it and it works for you.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else coming up for people?
Guess I'll say something. I think there are a couple of moments where I sort of forgot to to note, and I think I was doing something closer to like, I think it's called open awareness meditation, just like noticing it, but not saying feel. But so I would sort of, lose track for a second, but yeah, I haven't done this style of meditation before, but it does help to keep you from wandering as much, I think. So yeah, I enjoyed it.
Okay, cool. And yeah, I'll make a comment on that. So definitely this open like meditation style, where it's just open awareness, where you don't make notes. It's a very good style. And then what happens is the noting generally moves into that, and you start with labels, and then eventually the labels become too coarse, and you just drop them. And so in the noting tradition, you start with the labels, and then eventually you drop them. And like I myself do just most of my meditation just open awareness, where I don't do labels, but it's actually really interesting because it's quite different when I do. Anyway, whatever. But yeah, that's perfectly fine. And there's always the option of silent labels, out loud labels, and actually no labels.